Mama, can't you see? Mama, can't you see? What the state has done to me. What the state has done to me. They keep trying to shoot us down.
We're here in Overtown. This is the second oldest neighborhood in Miami. Once known as the Harlem of the South, when segregation prevented the likes of Louis Armstrong, Billie Holiday, Ray Charles, Jackie Robinson, even Muhammad Ali from sleeping in hotels on Miami Beach. They were hired to perform there, but as soon as the show was over, they were sent away. Kept out and confined, they came here. Today, it's ground zero for the opioid crisis in South Florida.
We are in Overtown, and we are going by one of the avenues where you're going to see a lot of homeless people are living in tents right now. And it just so happens that a lot of the homeless people that are living in those tents right now are people who inject drugs. You have your needles there.
Okay.
Ahí está chao. Tiene 5 pesitos.
I love you.
I love you too.
Okay, my name is Margot Lawson. I am 48. And I started using drugs at 26. I started with cocaine, and it graduated to crack cocaine. I never imagined I would end up on the street. That was the last place I ever thought I'd be. I didn't think that I was that type of drug addict. It was, when the epidemic hit, my friends were dying left and right. You'd see an ambulance in Overtown all day long, all night long.
In 2017, the first year of the Trump presidency, a record 28,869 people died from synthetic opioid-related overdoses, almost a 50% jump from the year before, many in suburban areas. While the crisis has largely disappeared from the front pages, now the CDC says there's an uptick in overdoses among people of color, underscoring just how much demographics change as drug supply chains evolve. According to the Idea Exchange, the only program of its kind in Florida, there's an estimated 15,000 IV drug users in Miami-Dade County alone. The center has reported over 1,700 Narcan overdose reversals.
At the time that the syringe exchange opened here in 2016, it was really at this first huge wave of the suburban opioid epidemic moving into the street use of drugs. That's kind of what we were seeing. So our initial enrollment was largely white, non-Hispanic, and that is shocking in a place like Miami-Dade County. What is changing more recently is, with a broader range of drugs that we're talking about here, is it has moved back into some inner city areas, not just as areas where the drugs were being distributed and sold, but also where the residents of those neighborhoods were also using. Probably about 50% of our participants are homeless, experiencing homeless at any one time. The daily trauma that you experience, either from being beaten, mistreated, denied health care. People report to us, especially female participants, sexual assault on a regular basis, waking up, being raped. It's the level of trauma that a lot of our folks experience is mind-boggling.
I think it's impossible to stay sober if you don't have a place to live or a job. And there's also, most people would be, what's the point? Why get sober if you're still going to be living on the street or in a shelter? If you're going to be out here miserable, you might as well be high.
Housing has been a divisive issue in South Florida. In the 50s, President Eisenhower dreamed of building an interconnected highway, but the infrastructure project would soon become a nightmare for Overtown residents, changing Miami for generations to come.
A road program that will take this nation out of its antiquated shackles.
In a single decade, city officials tore through business areas, evicted families without relocation assistance, and cut people of color from affluent areas, all in the name of eminent domain. Although the Civil Rights era put an official end to Jim Crow laws in 1964 and the Fair Housing Act was passed in 1968, by then redlining practices had seeped deeply into South Florida.
I realized that federal Supreme Court had declared the Florida Constitution provision for segregation invalid, but that does not remove the fact that it is still the intent of the people of Florida to maintain segregation.
So the exodus continued, while many of Overtown's low-income residents were relegated to small concrete slabs owned by majority white slumlords. By the 1980s, South Florida would become a port of entry for drugs, paving the way for the area's second downfall with the spread of crack and soaring crime. While drug money helped shape the city's skyline, businesses, and suburbs, Overtown steadily depopulated. With the turn of the century, a condo gold rush began, buoyed by foreign investors, while Overtown sank into oblivion. And as we all know, overdevelopment never really ended, even after crashing the economy during the collapse of 2008. Neither did the systemic racism that has ignored impoverished residents since a bridge was built literally over them.
We got nowhere to wash our hands. We can't go in that clinic and wash our hands. We have no way. We can't go in that restaurant. So guess what we got to do? We got to buy water. Yeah, a lot of us can't afford water. We can't afford the rent. And then look, I can't afford toothpaste. My check only $704.
Miami has had a front row seat to every single drug epidemic in the country, from the cocaine cowboys who smuggled the tropical substance on private planes and speedboats to the more recent fentanyl coming from China through the U.S. Postal Service. But this has more to do with housing than a particular drug of choice.